Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 107. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Jay, we got a fun episode tonight. We talked at length about Comic-Con films last week. And then, of course, as is always the case after Comic-Con, everything dries up. News dries up, trailers dry up.
We're entering this school time lull.
That's right. Yeah, we're not going to hear anything. We're not going to get any new trailers or anything really cool.
Not until all the festivals come out.
Yeah, for a couple weeks. So we have to start generating our own content at this point. So tonight, our main segment is going to be me and Jay's top 5 films that never got made.
And also, just check out our Patreon. Join there. You're going to hear a lot of cool, unique, new content from that. That's a lot of fun. And, reach out to us. Let us know what you guys want to hear.
First Patreon episode should be up by the time you're listening to this. It is a series of bad dates that Jay went on, narrated and commentated by myself. Speaking of that, Jay, what the fuck were you up to this week, man?
Oh, boy.
Before you even get started, when John was here...
Yes.
We were at Johnny Brenda's. There was a lady there, and John was eyeing her up, and John was standing next to her, and John was like working up the courage to talk to her and stuff, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then you just swooped in, right between me and John, walked between us, and then introduced yourself to her and started talking, and then you were like, I don't know, man, we just locked eyes, and I just went in like a sexual panther.
That's true. That's kind of how it happens sometimes.
I mean, and
you know what? I'm kind of happy they brought that up because I had that feeling because John made a little smart ass comment before he went to the bathroom, and I kind of thought, shit.
Are you sure?
Maybe John was actually trying to go for that girl.
Are you sure John made the smart ass comment, or was it me who made that smart ass comment? Because I definitely
you might have told him to say that.
Yeah, I probably did. That's me.
No, he brought up the pedophilia joke that I apparently laughed at Yards Brewing Company.
That's right.
Then he walked away. I'm like,
I did.
That doesn't sound like John. And then I'm like, oh, maybe he was. And it made all sense. I'm like, I never apologized or whatever later on that night. But
I am forever the devil on everyone's shoulders. Say this. That'll really get up his gears.
But it makes sense, and I feel bad. But no, honestly, dude. Later on that night, she hit me up. She's like, where you at, Tall Jason?
Tall Jason.
I texted her a couple times later on that week. No response.
Oh, man. You were just
So I was literally that one night maybe kind of thing, perhaps. And that's it.
Should have jumped on it.
That was it.
Oh, yeah. You drove down there with us. You would have had it. You would have had to have the awkward.
I know.
Uber.
And she was going to the Barbary after. That's a lock right there. That's a little dingy dive bar, dancing and everything.
You should have done it, man. All you had to do is just have that moment that you roll out of bed.
Could have been easy.
And it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and she's still awake, and you're like, I'm gonna go, and then you call your Uber, and then you're like, but I gotta wait 20 more minutes. Can I wait inside? It's raining out, and she's like, just get out.
I would have had it too.
And then you got to stand outside. Yeah.
Oh shit! Not another one.
I didn't like that. I didn't like that lady. I didn't like her at all because she clearly did not have a cuter dog than mine. But she wanted to argue about who had a cuter dog.
She did. And I know. She's from Savannah, Georgia, and I didn't hear the accent, so I don't believe her.
She didn't have. I didn't believe her.
I didn't believe her.
She didn't sound like no goddamn Southern belle.
No. It was weird. Someone was off with that girl. But anyway, I actually went out with a quick little Bumble date, and it turned out to be. So I was in Newtown with my sister. I moved. I helped her out with a moving thing, and met up with this girl at this local bar that was in between our two towns, and apparently they were closing. So she was like, why did you ask me out at a bar that was closing down? I'm like, look, I didn't know. I just was thinking out the only place that's between our two towns.
How does that work when a bar closes? Is it like everything must go dollar shots?
I don't know. No, it was just dead. I mean, I don't know. It was weird. And so we literally awkwardly. First of all, she didn't look like anything like in her photos. She looked like more of like a goth casual girl rolled out of bed.
Go on. How many piercings? How many tattoos?
With like really slouched, really plain. And the fact that she initially said that she used to be in therapy and probably should still be in therapy now, after like the first 2 minutes of talking to her, was a big red flag.
Like she worked in therapy,
because she
or
asked
she
me
still
like,
needs
so
therapy?
tell me more about what you do. And I'm like, yeah, what I work with, these kind of kids and all that. And
Therapeutic
she's like,
intervention.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow, okay, well that's fine. Everybody needs therapy, and and all this and that, and she, but it's just so weird. She just wanted to walk around the dark parking lot in a circle. And just like talk. I'm like, do you want to go in my car or something? Like, I mean, and she's like, I'm really thirsty. I mean, like, do you have a bottle of water in your car? I'm like, yeah.
Maybe because of your size, she mistook you for a horse, and she wanted to just walk you around the
car.
corral.
And I get the water, and she's like, she starts chugging the water, and then we keep on walking, and like something, I don't know what came up, but she just turns around and is like, I don't think this is gonna work. I'm stealing your bottle of water. And she just leaves. And I'm like, thank God, because this was so awkward, and I felt like this girl was going to murder me or something like that. I have no idea. It was really bizarre. She was not what I expected at all. She looked like just like a cute little Russian girl on Bumble, blah blah blah.
I love how your deal breaker is like she had slumped shoulders.
No. It's hard to explain. You could just tell this was like a little false advertising. And so I go to this bar on the way home because I just needed a drink. And I get my drink, and then all of a sudden, boom, 2 guys are on top of this older guy, choking him out, mouth bleeding.
Okay.
And the other guy punching his face twice. And I'm like, this is like a nice little bar. It was really quiet. It was only me, one other lady, the one guy's wife.
Hey man, you don't know what that guy said.
And me and the bartender, we go around like trying to break it up, and they actually got off pretty quickly, and they just bounced. They left. And the guy that got hit, he was actually kind of cool too. He was bleeding pretty badly on the mouth though. And he and his wife just kind of got a napkin and just bounced. And the other people, they knew of the guy that hit the guy. And we were trying to piece together the reasons, and it sounded like somebody was talking shit on a guy who previously died, like I guess somewhat recently, maybe.
Why is this a story on a podcast?
I don't know.
Why are we
But I don't
telling
even
this
know
story?
if that's even true. But the point is, I've never seen a fight like that in a long, long time. And for something that's so fucked up.
This has nothing to do with your date at all.
No.
Stop
But
talking.
it was after the bad date. I had another bad experience. I got a free drink out of it though, Dave, so that's a plus.
I just feel like there's forever just a dark cloud that hangs over you.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It just doesn't go away.
Talk with you again.
I need to find a happier job. That's what it is. I need to surround myself around happier people.
No, well, then stop hanging out with me because I'm the most miserable fuck you've ever met, man.
I'm surrounded by miserable people too.
Yeah, I'm a miserable bastard. So
But
yeah,
I'm also miserable. But misery likes company, so that's why we're friends.
it's true. All right, man. Did you watch anything this week?
Yeah, I watched a few things. I actually am in the middle of Glow season 2 still, along with Sharp Objects season 1 on HBO. I finished Santa Clarita Diet season 2 on Netflix. That's a lot of fun. Timothy Olyphant, love him. I revisited Sleeping with Other People with Alison Brie and Jason Sudeikis, and that's just a fucking charming ass movie. It's just hilarious. I had a good time with that. It's an easy watch.
Never seen it.
It's worth it. But that's about it, Dave.
Wow. So for me this week, I didn't do anything really. That's why we're not talking about what I did this week, because I didn't do jack shit. I actually spent most of the week sleeping, recovering from our weekend with John, which was very nice that I did practically nothing all week. But what I did do, it was my birthday. And I didn't do anything for my birthday, which is exactly how I like it.
I know.
I'm one of those people that it's like, hey, what do you want to do? What can I do for you? What can, it's your birthday. And it's just like, leave me the fuck alone. leave me peace and quiet.
Yeah, I figured that's what you wanted.
That's who I am. I did go over and see Mark and hang out with Mark and Danielle. Mark from
the baby.
yeah, Mark from our movie cocktails. And yes, I went over and I saw the baby. And what a delightful time that was. We just had fun sitting around for about 2 hours, shooting the shit, talking about babies.
Good.
Laughing about babies.
Giving them some tips and all that.
Talking about our next movie cocktail. I didn't give any tips. No. He's going to do this one on his own. It's going to be great. That episode is going to be coming up soon. Our movie cocktail has been decided. Our final movie cocktail for the season will be Batman Under the Red Hood, which I can't wait to talk about because that means we get to talk about the comics, we get to talk about the characters, get to do a little bit of character history, get to make an awesome drink, get to talk about one of my favorite Batman animated films. But as far as what I watched, Jay, right now Orange is the New Black is back, so I've been watching a little bit of that. We're on episode 7 of the new season, so it's okay. I mean, honestly, that show is just on autopilot now. It's just like, this is the new thing they're dealing with this season, and then next season
I think that's why I never watched the last season. And I know you said it was good.
It was good. I like,
but
last season,
I just never got around to it.
Yeah, last season got better. I really enjoyed a lot.
Okay,
a lot of the themes last season. This season, I mean, there really is no theme. Not like there was last season.
It's stalling out a little bit.
Yeah, but I still enjoy it. I still find it funny. I still find it charming.
That's what happens when there's enough good characters in a show like that, and
that's what it is.
That's
what it is.
It keeps you coming back.
But the movie I watched was Tao on Netflix. It's a Netflix original film, and it stars Maika Monroe. You might remember her. She was in It Follows. She was the girl who It was following.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She played President Whitmore's daughter in Independence Day. So she's been in a few things over the past couple years. Other than It Follows, though, nothing of note. And then it also had Ed Sheeran in it, who is he played Francis. Where's Francis? And he was also the new transporter, and just all around good bad guy. Like, he plays a good bad guy.
He's got that look.
Yeah, and this is the story of a woman who's held captive by a scientist. He is developing a new AI, but he needs people to help the AI develop by the AI learning their emotions. So he has to put them through a series of tests and torture routines so that the AI can grow and learn from their emotional data banks. And then he has to remove the stem from inside their spinal cord, which kills them. So she gets captured, and she is a clever, streetwise, street tough girl, and she manages to attempt a breakout. And then the rest of the film plays out, and she does meet the AI Tao. And it honestly, Jay, what this movie is if Walmart was making movies like other Hollywood movies,
Here they might be trying to do something.
This
like
is
that.
Walmart's version of Ex Machina.
Wow. Okay.
But it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just like, when it's over, you're just like, okay, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. I get it. Like, I was calling it the whole time, and Lauren's like, I hate when you do that. But it's like, it was so obvious where they were going with stuff. I didn't feel like they did enough with the subject matter, with the material that was at hand. However, I did enjoy the performances. Like, I did enjoy Maika Monroe and Ed Sheeran to a bit too. I did enjoy him as well. And Gary Oldman plays the voice of the AI Tao. So I did enjoy aspects of it. I actually really enjoyed probably the tone, like the cinematography of it.
Was this an original?
Yeah, it's a Netflix
original. Okay.
Now, when we say Netflix original, it's a lot of times it's not that Netflix has developed
Produced
this from the beginning. It's that this was a script, the film was in production, it either got canceled or the studio was lackluster on its release, and they wound up selling it to Netflix for release. So when I was watching it, I felt like this was along those lines. This very easily could have been a very, very good Sci-Fi Channel movie. However, it is a severely mediocre Netflix movie.
It will be in 2 years.
So that's it. That's all I watched this week. So why don't we head over, Jay, and why don't we get into a little bit of news?
Let's do it. for the news.
All right, let's kick off our news segment with something that happened last week. And since we talked about, we didn't do news last week, we didn't get to talk about it. James Gunn has been fired from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Disney had fired him over tweets that were released in 2009 that made jokes of pedophilia, rape, and sexual assault. And because recently, earlier on this year, they fired Roseanne Barr for similar type of negative tweets. They also fired James Gunn. Now, that's not really the bulk of the news story. The news story that I wanted to bring up was the fact that these tweets were not uncovered by Disney. They were actually uncovered and told to Disney by a group of social media activists for the right wing who go on and pretty much dig up dirt on other people, on celebrities who tweet negatively about the current administration and pretty much ruin them. That's what they are known for doing. And it looks like James Gunn is the latest. I don't want to say victim of it because he did say these things.
Yes, it's blatant. It's out there.
Right.
We all have seen it. If you looked it up.
But the fact is, the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 were made long after these tweets were even made. And now, because they've resurfaced, they've always been on his Twitter. They've always been there. Disney just never looked at them. But because these got brought to the forefront and because these were put in the public eye, Disney kind of felt like their hands were tied, because how can you fire Roseanne Barr but not fire James Gunn for almost the exact same thing? And James Gunn,
same network too,
right? And James Gunn doesn't deny it. He says, many years later, I take full responsibility for the way I conducted myself then. All I can do now, beyond offering my sincerest and most heartfelt regret, is to be the best human being I can be, accepting, understanding, committed to equality, and far more thoughtful about my public statements and my obligation to our public disclosure. To everyone inside my industry and beyond, I again offer my deepest apologies, and I love you all. Now, I think by not taking a route where he says you're taking it out of context, it's not right. He's just saying
he's owning it, right. and he's apologizing like a man, and just kind of right. trying to do what he can.
I said it. I did it. I don't blame anybody. Yeah. And he said he doesn't blame anybody
because it was so long ago. That's the thing. I don't know exactly the dates or whatever, but I do know that it was a while ago. And it's one of those things where my right. God, look, anybody think about it. Things that you've said or tweeted on social media stays on there for so long.
That's what I want to get at. I mean,
and especially with Twitter,
for so many people, where you work for companies and stuff like that. A lot of times, and you don't always know it, but you might have forgot it from your orientation day when you started. Some of the things, this goes true for my company, some of the things you say on social media, if your social media is linked to your personal name and your personal name's linked to the company, and you say something on social media, whether it's about your company or not, but it is wrong, your company does have the right to fire you. I know a lot of people are like, my social media is, my business, it's private. It's not. You're putting it out in a public space.
Right.
So if you have a LinkedIn account and your name is there on LinkedIn and that your company's name is right next to it, and then you have a Twitter or a Facebook where you say offensive things, you are linked to your company, and your company does have the right to fire you. So I'm not saying Disney's wrong for this. They are doing damage control before anything gets out of proportions.
But the thing is, I didn't hear anything about this until they fired him.
Very small. So
that's what I'm saying. Everybody was just so shell shocked because you didn't even hear any backlash about it until he was already fired.
I did wonder at a couple points, is it because he was contracted for 2 films and he had a bigger contract now, and this was an
he didn't get along with certain members in the studio, perhaps?
But then I thought about it. More than likely, he was already working on that 3rd film. Ink was dry on any contract he had, and he's more than likely still going to have to be paid for that. He's still going to wind up being an executive producer on this film because he was working on the script and writing it. The story will probably still wind up being his. But you brought up something to me later on today that I found was really interesting, is that a lot of celebrities are getting behind him now and saying we support him. Even though
not only that, the full cast of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Full cast of Guardians of the Galaxy. They wrote out a letter. They are looking for the reinstatement of James Gunn to direct Guardians of the Galaxy 3. There are petitions going around the internet, 250,000 signatures so far to get James Gunn reinstated. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get reinstated. However, he may not. And I thought this was an interesting time for me and you to say, who would you like to see? Because I have some people in mind who I would like to see do this instead of him. Now, I would prefer him. Number one, I would prefer him. I think his tweets are taken out of context. I'm a guy who jokes around a lot. I understand that his were done in the public medium and stuff like that. I probably wouldn't joke about rape, but it was 2009, and James Gunn has admitted, he was a younger man then and not thinking clearly. So, and
it wasn't even like a like or a retweet of somebody else's tweet. It was actual written words. But regardless, that's the problem with like I was talking about something like that with somebody else before earlier. Text messages, sarcasm does not translate well through text message at all. So, it's just bad. So like everybody has different perspectives on things, and it just gets taken out of context. But anyway, I actually would love to see either Taika Waititi.
That's there's a lot of people who have Marvel alums on there.
Edgar Wright, maybe. I think those are the two guys that I think would be more up that wheelhouse for me.
I had two as well that are used to doing ensemble comedies like this. Todd Phillips, who did The Hangover and did a fantastic movie, The Big Short, a couple years ago. I think he's a great director. Now he does a little bit of smaller comedy, so I'm not sure if he could handle the grandeur of this. And another one is Jay Chandrasekhar, who was the director of Super Troopers and is a writer for The Broken Lizard. And he also is the director of the Dukes of Hazzard film. Those are people who I think could pick this up. However, more than likely Marvel will, and when I say play it cheap, that's not a negative thing. They will more than likely go with not an unnamed, but someone who well. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, and this is like pipe dream for me. This would like huge pipe dream. Dan Harmon, creator of Community and Rick and Morty. What if they got Dan Harmon to do this? Wouldn't that be the shit?
Wow.
Imagine the crazy shit he does at Rick and Morty, and he brings like that type of craziness.
See, that's the
to
thing.
This.
Like, I want the continuity, but
So
at the
do
same
I.
time, I'm excited because there's so many interesting directors that can do so many interesting
You've seen the
things
world
with
of
this
the Guardians of the
property.
Galaxy according to James Gunn.
Right.
Why wouldn't I wouldn't mind.
Who did a
seeing-
great job.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it from somebody else. I would prefer James Gunn back for the continuity, yes. But I mean, those are just some names that Super Movie Brothers are kicking around that we would like to see. I ultimately would like to
Hollywood, just hit us up. We'll give you some ideas and tips.
You'll never get Dan Harmon. He can't even get a season of Rick and Morty out in a year. What do you think he's going to do with Guardians of the Galaxy 3? We'll see it sometime.
HBO will hire him.
2027. All right. So, Jay, let's move on to our next news story. Some of these are a little bit backed up. So these are constipated as well. But we're going to get them out. We're going to talk about them. Frank Miller has regained the movie and TV rights to Sin City, which I'm actually really excited about because I don't want to see another Sin City movie, not after A Dame to Kill For. I would like to see a Sin City TV series, though.
I would like to see Ava Green's boobs more, though.
Oh, come on, Jay. You sick son of a bitch.
All right. With that out of the way, yes, I would also really like to see a TV show.
Yeah, I think
in any capacity, to be honest, especially if it's developed and produced by Frank himself.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
That's what I would want.
In that style that the movies were done
Exactly,
in.
right.
But
right.
you could do it completely differently, where each of the movie was a series of, it was basically 15-minute vignettes that make up the bulk of the movie. Instead of doing that, instead of telling these stories with and having them loosely connect, you can do it like a TV series and have them all interweave and stuff like that in and out. I think that would be, I think that is probably a nice linear way to tell the Sin City story throughout. And then each season could wind up being almost like different acts in each of their stories. It could be cool. I don't know what they're going to do with it. No word yet on what they got involved with it, but it's nice to see that he has the rights back. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was anything to come out of it, if Robert Rodriguez was still, and Quentin Tarantino were still producing it along with them. I think they got along with Frank Miller quite well because they did produce his movie The Spirit as well. I don't think his problem was with them. I think it was with the studio more so.
I think so, definitely, yeah. And honestly, I think Tarantino and especially Rodriguez, they can pump out material without a problem. Like, they don't even need a studio backing, but I think they needed the funds and the support behind it to distribute it.
What I don't want Frank Miller to do is write anything original because
he's too old.
No,
right?
He sucks anymore. Like, he just sucks. Like, everything new
and
he
he's
writes,
old.
anything he writes new in comic books, it doesn't have that edge that it used to have. It just doesn't.
Dave, he's like on his deathbed. He's old.
He's not that old.
He's old, man. He's really old.
All right, Jay, what news stories you got, man?
All right, I got a kind of an intriguing property that I think is going to be really fun for me, especially because this is an announcement by Amazon Studios saying that their streaming service is going to team up with the Russo brothers to develop a large-scope international event series. Hell yeah. I mean, I don't know, and that's as vague as it gets, really, but like, I'm excited. I mean, it's going to be like a television global franchise of some sorts. And they're going to have creative freedom.
One of the trailers we didn't get to talk about because it's not a movie, that it's a TV series that's being produced by the Russo brothers, is Deadly Class, which is a comic book that was written by Rick Remender. And dude, it is a phenomenal comic. It is the story of some street tough kids in the 1980s who are recruited by a school that will teach them to become deadly assassins.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's produced by the Russo brothers. So it looks
please.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It looks awesome. That was one of those things I sent Lauren the trailer and I was like, fucking watching this shit. So the Russo brothers are going to be branching out, and they cut their teeth in TV too, so they also know the lay of the land and how to work it. And I think you're right. Seeing them do something like that from the ground up. But now, what do you think they mean by like global? Like, did they mean it's a TV show that will show all over the world, or do they mean like
no? And it's going to be. I think it's going to be characters around the world as well. I think there's a potential for either characters traveling the world, or they're going to be showing and highlighting characters featured around the world, like Heroes. Remember the show Heroes?
That's exactly what I was
That's
thinking.
where I'm kind of thinking maybe as well, something in that vein. We were referencing before about Netflix originals and such. They acquired Andy Serkis's Mowgli.
Yeah.
Now that's huge.
It's
news.
not that huge.
It's kind of huge. So this is a massive, probably $200 million movie.
You wanted to talk about this on Trailer Park, and I wouldn't let you because I didn't give a flying fuck about this movie. I thought this movie was dumb. I already got a better version of it. Why do I need the Andy Serkis version of it?
I hear you.
It is huge, but this is exactly why Netflix was able to acquire it, was because it had its market
no traction whatsoever.
Its market had already been used up by the Disney version, which came out 2 years ago.
Exactly, and it's dark, and nobody really knows the name. I mean, people do, but not really. It's not that marketable like Jungle Book. I mean, come on.
You could call it Jungle Book. Jungle Book is royalty free. It's in public domain.
The studio know, I think, exactly what they had on their hands. A disaster. Not that the movie's a bad movie, but that
it's just
the fact that they developed the fact they developed this at the same time, and they wanted to separate themselves. And I guess this must have been a big bone for Andy Serkis. You know, after all this time, they gave him a property that he wanted to develop, and they thought might be profitable, and they let him run with it. Now, it doesn't look bad, Dave. Not to me, it doesn't. It's just a different kind of spin on it.
I'm just not interested. I just don't care.
You're right, Dave. That's the problem. I mean, and you could just kind of tell with the marketing leading up to this, it just sort of fell off. And it kind of does make sense that Netflix picked it up because they can do what they do and they'll make a profit.
All right, you ready for this? The Disney-Fox deal has taken one massive, huge leap forward in the fact that the stockholders of both studios are on board for the merger. Everyone's excited for it. And the merger of AT&T Time Warner which went through was allowed by the FCC. That's pretty much greased the wheels for this. That merger has now made this merger going to be
It's going to happen a lot quicker than
it's going to go
realized,
a whole
Yeah.
lot quicker now because of the decision on that one. So expect ink to be dry on contracts by the end of this year. Expect it to be completed through the FCC
Spring.
pipeline by next year.
Yeah. I actually have a fun movie that was just announced that's in development with Ryan Reynolds. Home Alone-esque comedy called Stoned Alone.
Yes, I did hear about this.
Oh my God, this is brilliant. And it's not 100% sure if Reynolds himself is going to be starring in it, but he's producing it and developing it with 20th Century Fox. This is just fucking perfect, Dave. I'm excited for this. This is just going to be too fun. Way too fun. Movie Pass that I was a big fan of, was a subscriber. I got out just in time because they are crashing and burning as we speak.
The surcharges started to go up. There started to become more surcharges for different things.
They can't afford tickets anymore.
And then they put a hold on tickets last week and told people they couldn't purchase tickets for the week.
They couldn't see certain Mission Impossible movies, and actually they announced that they can't do Christopher Robin. I think some other movie. I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe The Meg.
Right.
So it's just a disaster.
So now you're telling me like a movie of the Movie Pass, you have to wait a certain number of weeks before a film's out before you can go see it. And for a guy who does a current events podcast on movies, that doesn't do you any good, Jay. So looks like you were right to jump on the
AMC A-List bandwagon.
A-List. Charlie's Angels, man, it's getting a reboot.
I heard.
Yeah. It's going to star Kristen Stewart, Naomi Scott, and Ella Balinska.
Yeah, a couple up and comers.
Elizabeth Banks is going to play the role of Bosley, the
point person, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, but she's also directing it as well, Dave.
Yes, and
it's an intriguing cast. I feel like they must be going with a certain different kind of spin on it. Because you only have one name, Kristen Stewart, and you got two up and coming actresses who I think the one girl was in Power Rangers, and the other girl is pretty much a no name.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
I'm just wondering, after all of her strange art house films that she's been doing, like, why would Kristen Stewart take this? Does she think that this is the avenue back into like limelight? Because I don't see this as being huge. I don't think.
I think it's going to be big enough. If this is like a $50 million movie, that's enough. They're gonna make that money back.
I guess. Yeah. I mean. Her last big flop was Snow White and the Huntsman, which was back in 2000,
which was a sequel
12
to a hit.
No, that was the first one. The Huntsman with
it didn't have her.
Didn't have her. She wasn't in that one.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
And the only thing that she's really been in that a lot of people might remember from the past couple of years was that American Ultra film with Jesse Eisenberg, which was awful, where they played stoners. Cafe Society, which you were a huge fan of, but I wasn't crazy.
A fan,
about.
not a huge fan.
Right. And then there was Billy Lynn's Long Halftime Walk, which was that
stupid Ang Lee movie.
That stupid Ang Lee movie, which was not good. So I mean, like her track record for a while. I mean, I haven't seen any of her indie films, but you have.
Oh, I really, really loved her last Personal Shopper. That was really awesome. I love that movie a lot. I'm still thinking about trying out.
Personal Shopper was 2 years ago, Jay.
Hey, look, it felt like last year. But I saw it in the movie theater in Philly. I really went out to see this movie, and it was really an original movie, really an interesting, dark little indie, not really like a horror movie of sorts, but like in that vein. So I think if you'd like something like that, and it's pretty much, it only follows her mostly. It's cool.
Name your top 3 HBO series of all time that you've watched.
On the spot?
Yeah,
like
right now. Name your top 3.
All right, I'm just going to say the first things that come to my head. Sopranos. True Blood. And you know what? Deadwood.
There you go.
Deadwood.
Can't believe you left Game of Thrones off that list, Dick. But
no, it's still going.
It's still going. All right. Well, Jay.
What if they have a shitty season, Dave? It would destroy me as a person, as a human.
You're one of those ravenous fans of Deadwood that is now going to be happy because Deadwood movie has finally been greenlit and it will get a theatrical release.
Do you see my boner on my pants right now? I'm a little hard. Yeah.
So you're going to get a whole lot more of Timothy Olyphant.
I'm on board.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
But
and come on, Shane. Come on.
Ian McShane. Yeah.
Ian McShane, I love that motherfucker.
But yeah, this has been long in development. Deadwood got canceled sort of out of nowhere for a lot of people. People were not really expecting it when it got canceled, but now there's always been talk of it getting a movie, same way that Entourage has and Sex and the City, these HBO series that just weren't for one reason or another, they ran their course on HBO, but people still wanted more, and here it is. And don't be surprised, Jay, if even though they're doing Game of Thrones spinoffs, if we don't wind up getting a Game of Thrones movie here or there, telling minor stories from the universe of the Song of Ice and Fire. So, Jay, that's it, man. That's all I got for news this week. But if you're a huge Batman the Animated Series fan like I am, you would like to know that on October 16th of this year, Batman the Animated Series, the full series, including the adventures of Batman and Robin, will be coming to Blu-ray. And it's available now on Amazon, and I already got my order. I already got it pre-ordered, man. I can't wait for this to come out because I am an absolute huge fan of Batman the Animated Series. And the nice part is, if you're a Funko Pop collector, it comes with 3 mini pop vinyls of Batman, the Joker, and Harley Quinn. All right, so coming up next, Jay wants to do a 5-minute review of Mission Impossible
Fallout.
True Blood. Top 3 HBO shows.
I would have rather have said Sex in the City. Because it's way better.
No, you said it with such confidence, though.
It's the only thing that came to my head at the time. I was on the spot.
That series was awful. I'll give you the first season. The first season was somewhat intriguing. Everything after that, what a fucking god-awful mess. True Blood. Oh my! I'm just picturing you fapping it to Alexander Skarsgård.
I had fun with it. Suck it.
Well, what garbage that show was.
Oh,
but you, Jay.
I ate it up.
You have the entire series on Blu-ray, do you?
Oh, my gay uncle and I would just gab about it all the time. It was fantastic. It was such a stupid little fun show.
I understand why he watched it.
I know.
I don't understand why you watched it.
I'm still wondering myself. I don't really know. Oh God. Oh me.
So much Anna Paquin boob to go around.
She has a nice booty though. They didn't show it enough.
Okay, fair enough. Jay,
anyway,
you're doing a 5-minute review, and you've already used up 1 minute of it.
That's fine. This is going to be short and sweet because I'll tell you what, I want people to go out to theaters and see this. I saw this movie in IMAX. It's called Mission Impossible Fallout.
Just in case you forgot that we said that we ended the last segment with that. Jay's going to remind you.
Oh, I will.
That the movie he's reviewing is
and
Mission Impossible.
It stars Tom Cruise, if you didn't know that.
Doesn't it star Henry Cavill? I thought it starred Henry Cavill.
Well, no, just his mustache.
That's right.
But no, he did a fantastic job. And it brings back all the main players: Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, back from the previous movie Rogue Nation.
I only have one question for you. Is this better than Justice League? And was the mustache worth ruining Justice League for? Even though Justice League had far more problems than a mustache, but
yes, it was worth it.
This was worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to just quick say that our girl, Vanessa Kirby from The Crown, kind of steals it for me in a way, as a character, because she ties in with the first Mission Impossible movie, and she was a great delight.
Now, is that because you've recently watched The Crown and it was her, or is it because she actually just, delivers a fantastic performance?
Both. And you got to see the movie. I mean, both. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So I'm going to start off really quick with my only little necks with the movie that bothered me. One, they didn't have that many surprises for me. I feel like I kind of had the movie down,
And in a spy thriller, you want some.
And they
twists
tried to
turns.
do some
I get
twists
that.
and turns, and nothing surprised me. And all the other Mission Impossibles, there was at least one.
You want to know why? Because Mission Impossible has become franchised in about the same exact way that Fast and Furious has become franchised, and you don't want to get too plot heavy. It's more about moving to the next action sequence. That's more what it's
Exactly,
about
and
now.
that's leading into what my other negative was, because it did feel like that to me. And even though each action sequence was unbelievable and really, really cool to experience, especially in IMAX, it felt like that.
How was that?
You know?
How was that bathroom fight in the trailer? Because I almost went to go see this because of that bathroom fight, just because of the way Henry Cavill looks, just so fucking vicious and raw. He looks like fucking Tom Selleck, man. That's who he looked like. He looks like fucking Tom Selleck.
Yes. Honestly, I've seen better.
Yeah. All right. See, I'm glad I didn't see this.
I think it was the way it was cut. I think it was the way it was edited. I mean, there was a little bit you could tell that they were doing their own stunts, but I'm like, you know what? They were a little too self-aware of it.
I haven't seen any Mission Impossible in the movie theater. That's why I didn't want to like rush out to see this one. I've seen them all at home. I feel like for me, these are the type of fun action films that I'm going to watch sitting in the comfort of my own home.
Yeah.
I don't need to rush to the theaters to see it.
It's hard to say that because this movie it's so obviously shot for the big screen, and with IMAX for my two ones that stand out to me at the top of my head right now are the Halo jumps sequence, and then also the helicopter sequence as well. So there's some incredible things, and there's other things as well, to be honest. But I thoroughly still enjoy this. I'm going to give this an A- for me, and I think there's knacks really did take away. It's an A movie as far as like the visual quality and the stunts and the sequences. And I did enjoy the hell out of myself out in the movie theater. But the fact that it was very predictable and it wasn't that surprising, and you could tell that it was just like one big sequence after another.
Well, you liked 3, the J.J. Abrams one, right? With
I liked everything except the second one. The second one had way too much cheese oozing out of its pores.
Is this better than Ghost Protocol or Rogue Nation, or are those two better than this one?
I actually kind of prefer Rogue Nation and Ghost Protocol more. And I don't know exactly which one I would take.
Is it because Tom Cruise had the long hair in Ghost Protocol?
Is he like Samson? Understand that.
Is he like Samson if you cut the hair?
I love his long hair. I always do.
Does Ethan Hunt lose his power if you cut his hair?
I love the long hair.
Does he lose box office draw if you cut the hair?
It's possible.
It's
a theory to discuss. That'll be a Patreon episode, everybody.
but where the long hair made its debut was in Mission Impossible 2.
I know. And it was epic.
One.
I know. And it was epic, but it was just...
that movie was 90% hair.
I don't even want to... So it was like 80s rock glam or some shit. But no, the story just moved along in a more interesting way. I think because they were actually, I don't know why. It just flowed better. It was a better story. There was a little bit more surprises to it.
I like that Simon Pegg's back. I like when they added him in Ghost Protocol. I like him. I like what he adds to it, because I feel like Ving Rhames can't add as much anymore. You know what I mean? Like Ving Rhames,
he adds more in this movie than he does in previous movies. Yeah, definitely.
Because his role was severely reduced in Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation.
It's significantly added in this movie.
Well, Jay, I'm glad that you enjoyed it, and I'm glad that you endorse it for other people to go see. An A though? An A?
Oh yeah, A-, minus, not an A. I got a knack at it because it definitely is not as surprising as I expected it to be. It's a little bit too predictable in aspects, and there wasn't too many surprises, unfortunately, for me at least.
Fair enough.
I'll tell you, the acting was all around was fantastic, and I said before, Vanessa was a delight, and I would love to talk about her character in reference to the first movie, because she does a brilliant job with what she does with it.
Fair enough. Jay, why don't you go ahead and pour yourself a bourbon neat?
Oh, thank you, Dave.
Why don't you take your Henry Cavill mustache, curl it up with a little bit of wax, put on your square frame glasses.
Can I pump my fist like he does too?
And let's head right over to Jay's Indie Corner. Now that Jay has gone and douched himself up just as much as he possibly could for all of you, he's going to take us deep inside of his little indie corner. Jay, you got 2 indie films that you want to discuss with us. What are those indie films?
Creep and Creep 2.
Wow. Jay, I do have fake synopsis for it's not really both of these, because I see this as like Kill Bill Volume 1, Kill Bill Volume 2.
Sure.
One movie released separately.
Starring Jay.
So Creep is about an over 30 something guy who spends his free time literally just creeping on women, and it's going to be a lot. It's going to be more about how he fails socially with them, more so than how he makes it with them. Of course, there will be sex involved in it, but it's going to be more about his sexual failings, how he never actually he perceives himself as a sexual god, and that, you know, eventually towards the end of the film, all of his sexual conquests, all the notches on his bedpost, he starts learning and finding out from a girl that he starts seeing, who goes around and starts finding all the women that he slept with, that he never left any of them sexually gratified at all, and his world comes crashing down. But the girl that he's with, he does wind up falling for. And it ends, Jay, with them getting engaged. Creep 2 begins with their engagement over, 3 months past, and the creep is right back into his old habits again. It stars you.
That's why I'm like,
It's autobiographical.
That's what I thought.
It's autobiographical. I wrote it for you. I ghost wrote your autobiography.
It sounds a little too on point. This is why Dave was a forensic psychology major in college.
I really do want to hunt down like all your former sexual conquests and be like, did he satisfy you like at all? Like even a little bit? Like
now, when did you feel it when it went in?
No, not that. I mean, they felt it, but sometimes I feel like I'm like, Jay's the type of guy who
wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
No. I feel like you're giving at first, but then like when it's like close to your time, you're just like, I don't care if she's gotten hers, I'm gonna get mine. Done. Spoosh. I feel like you're all giving up front, but then when it gets down to the nitty gritty of it, really it's just about you, Jay.
Well,
if you've ever seen Jay talk to
it
women,
depends on the girl.
If you ever see Jay talk to women, it's a creepy experience, but I don't always put that on you. A lot of times,
is it just because I'm so fucking tall?
Yeah,
and I'm like weird.
You like you like because you have to like.
I'm not as cool as I think I'm.
Because you have to like lean over them. And
I know.
Talk to them. It's almost like your body's enveloping them. like you're just kind of like curling over top of them, and swallowing them. And it's just like.
I hope in their perspective it looks good, but you know, I don't know.
Jay, the downward angle, it's not good. People look better from the upward angle down than the downward angle up. In fact,
that's true.
From down here, Jay, you got a double chin. I just want to be honest.
And I have a weak chin, Dave. I know.
You do have a weak chin.
Now, if I can grow a fucking like Gerard Butler kind of beard, and I can like do a good like chin beard thing to like mask my weak chin, I would, but I can't.
No one wants to see your patchy facial hair, man.
That's what I'm saying. I can't do it, Dave.
Stay on target.
Jay,
it's a shame.
What do you got for these 2 movies? These 2 movies, which you saw, unfortunately, because I had
that is true.
Recommended them to you.
Dave has seen these movies, everybody. However, this is right up my alley for the content and the genre, and also it's a horror movie of some sorts, but it's also a creepy indie movie, and also like in the vein of found footage of some sorts. A little bit. It's in that vein because the camera style, I guess you can say, is the shaky camera. It's a handheld camera.
Yeah, but it's steady.
It's steady enough for the most part, and it is directed by the co-star in the first movie, Patrick Bryce, and it is written by Patrick and Mark Duplass, who plays AKA the Creep.
And Mark Duplass is, a member, obviously one of the Duplass brothers. Togetherness was a show that they were doing on HBO, and then obviously, he played Pete in The League. So that's where stardom really started to rise and stuff like that. But I mean, just kind of like brilliant guys. They got their hands in everything. We've talked about them a couple times. They got their hands in a lot of things.
I think they're just so aware of what people want in that kind of wheelhouse, in their world.
For
the most part,
not what a mass audience wants, but what
no.
But what people like you want for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
The creep gets you. They get you.
Right. And but he also did Blue Jet, which I adored, and I thought Blue Jay was really, really good and strong, and that's an interesting kind of and a weird twist of, the like the Before trilogy. It's kind of a 2-part movie, a boy and a girl, and it's a lot of dialogue, and it's a somewhat romantic movie, but also witty dialogue. It's a little snappy at times, but it's an interesting movie. Also, I gotta say though, this movie, you don't know what you're getting. I mean, you kind of do, but you don't. And in the beginning, it's just a videographer. This is what they do. They go on Craigslist. They find little projects to do for just like a 1-day job, and it's like a good chunk of change. Maybe like $500 or $1,000, something like that. And his thing is sort of you can kind of understand. His wife and his kids away. He has money, but he has an illness and he knows he's dying, and he wants to just do like a video for his son, maybe like 10, 15 years, down the road, and he can just reflect upon and see how his dad is, just bare bones and everything. Right. Just kind of just see how he is as a person.
And this is where he comes out stark naked and prances in front of the camera, right?
Well,
that's the second
that might be
one.
creep too.
That's the second one. Which is, I'm pretty sure that, Jay, that's what sold you on this film, because I talked about Creep 2 already almost 10 or 15 episodes ago. I watched it on Netflix, and I had told you about it, and I think that's what sold you, was the Mark Duplass.
That Mark Duplass would show his penis.
Yeah, that was
for more than like a quarter of a second.
Full frontal.
Yeah, full frontal.
Spoilers, guys, he's circumcised.
Yeah. Thank God. Nobody wants to see uncircumcised penises. Please don't do it. Dave, do you have one?
No elephant trunk here, sir.
God damn! What voice can't you do? Jesus. So what was that? Did he say a whole sentence in that? Was that what did you speak in the elephant right there?
I don't know. It's just what I do. My daughter has a book where an elephant sneezes, and every time I read that book and I go, chew, she's like, that's not how an elephant sneezes, Daddy. And I have to go,
I guess it does help to have a daughter. But you're right. Creep 2 moves on to another videographer, and we're not going to do any spoilers. I'm not going to get into it too much.
A videographer or a videographer, Jay?
Videographer. Is there a difference? I don't know. What did I say?
It sounds like they're graphing videos, but videographers
are they graphing them? I don't know. Maybe they're trying to at one point, but
oh, Jesus Christ!
Shut up. Okay. Anyway,
biopic,
but. Here we go. It's been many episodes, Dave. Thank you very much. I'm on a great streak right now.
Is it a biography?
It is.
It's a biography.
And the actually has a female protagonist in the movie,
which actually makes the naked scene more creepy. That he walks out and shows himself naked,
but
to
much
her.
more effective.
Yeah, gosh, sure.
I think. And the fact that she gets naked right after that, and just sort of understands her point and in the situation.
Oh yeah, she down the
knows how to. She knows how to like roll with it just for her safety alone. We'll just say, because you obviously could tell that a girl, it doesn't matter who you are.
You can obviously tell he's a creep.
And how cool you are. Yeah. If you're getting naked and seeing some dong within like the first 10, 15 minutes of
meeting somebody.
Yeah, meeting somebody.
Jay, why don't you try that on one of your dates? I want to just be like, hey, just because it's going to be completely socially awkward, we're going to be hanging out and stuff like that. We're both going on this date, and I feel like it would just relieve a lot of the sexual tension between you and I if we just stood naked in front of each other for at least like a full minute, and we study each other's bodies, and then we just go on this date. I could picture you doing that to a girl.
I would consider that.
No, Jay, no.
No, I wouldn't because I don't have the balls to. But I understand where they're coming from.
I don't. No, Jay. What are they like? Bearing it all like Roman gladiators?
That's my fascination with this kind of shit. Because sometimes I do. I'm like, I kind of understand what he's coming from, but I could never do it. I would never do that.
Jay, you don't. That is how a psychopath like him, a sociopath like him, sucks people in. That is how Sharon Tate got murdered because people started following a sociopath.
I wonder if Quentin Tarantino is going to show that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
You would 100%, and I have no doubt about this. If some soothsayer came along and started spinning you some yarn and stuff like that,
I'd eat it up.
You would be in a cult in a heartbeat. It would just be. It would take me being like, no, it's a cult. Get out. Stop. Don't. No. That's cool, Jay. The Kool-Aid's poisoned. Don't drink it. Damn it. How many times do I have to tell you? There is no great beyond.
Well, look, I'm not going to join Scientology.
That's just a successful cult, Jay. I'm talking about like
the ones that are like in the beatnik of the woods of like.
Yeah, I'm talking about Waco, Texas type cults. Like I could just see you falling in with like one of those, and you'd be like, Cthulhu will come. Cthulhu will come. You would definitely fall for Michael Parks in Red State. Like you would be like enamored by him and be like, yeah, I'm totally down with the Jeebus now. And the rapture's coming.
You never know.
You would follow the old lady in the mist, and you'd be sitting there clapping your hands. Expiation! Expiation! Don't follow sociopaths, Jay.
Okay.
That's what you need me for, to point out the sociopaths.
That's why you're in my life. You're my guardian angel.
Some of the women you date are sociopaths as well.
I know anymore now. My God, I got to get off of social media. Girl, come to my life, please. Get me out of this fucking hellhole. All right. That sound like a creep. Anyway, so this second movie was also directed by Patrick Bryce, and it's still written by Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass. However, both of these movies were heavily improv. So each actor, obviously had a good understanding of each character and the story as a whole, but a lot of the sequences and the dialogue exchanges between the two were kind of on the cuff and improv.
All right, man. Both of these are streaming on Netflix. If you aren't afraid of talk heavy films, and you're not afraid of very slow burn films with some nice payoff at the end and stuff like that, definitely check them out. They're both streaming on Netflix. Both, I believe, on Amazon Prime as well. They are enjoyable. I do endorse them as well as Jay. I just love Mark Duplass. I do think like Jay,
I respect the hell out of him.
He has a very interesting and pretty brilliant mind. So coming up next, me and Jay are going to be getting into our beers and this week's Drunkstein. Welcome back to the beer segment. Me and Jay got two beers that we're going to be reviewing for you, this time from the same brewery. But before we get into doing all of that and this week's drunk scene, we got to drop a line to our sponsor, Blowfish. Blowfish is the only FDA-approved hangover cure. What it is it's 2 tablets. It's less than $1.25 a dose. You drop those into a glass of 8 to 12 ounces of water. Wait for those to dissolve. Drink that down, and your hangover starts to fade away.
Buying stock in that company, Dave. Woo! Yeah. Love that shit.
So if you're interested in having a quick, easy cure for your hangovers, head over to www.forhangovers.com and use the promo code SMBFISH. That's FOR hangovers.com, SMBFISH. All right, Jay, we got a drunk scene that we got to do. And the reason I'm going to be picking this drunk scene is because what just dropped this week was one of our good friends in the Podfix Network did a movie draft. Justin from So I Married a Movie Geek does these movie drafts. I've been on a few. I should be on a few that are coming up. But I liked this week's because it was Tom Cruise films. It was all Tom Cruise films.
Mission Impossible week.
And I was thinking, we should do a Tom Cruise thing too. So here's this week's drunk scene.
Now, damn it, let's put Jessup on the stand and end this thing.
What possible good could come from putting Jessup on the stand?
He told Kendrick to order the code red.
He did? That's great. Why didn't you say so? And of course, you have proof of that. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. You were sick the day they taught law at law school.
You put him on the stand and you get it from him.
Oh, we get it from him. Yes, no problem. We get it from him. Colonel Jessup, isn't it true that you ordered the code red on Santiago?
Listen, we're all a little...
I'm sorry, your time's run out. What do we have for the losers, Judge? Well, for our defendants, it's a lifetime at exotic Fort Leavenworth. And for defense counsel Kathy, that's right, it's a court-martial. Yes, Johnny, after falsely accusing a highly decorated Marine officer of conspiracy and perjury, Lieutenant Kathy will have a long and prosperous career teaching typewriter maintenance at the Rocco Colombo School for Women. Thank you for playing. Should we or should we not follow the advice of the galactically stupid?
Damn.
So this is one of my favorite Tom Cruise movies. I absolutely fucking love this movie. It's not an action movie, which is like, it's one of the first times you really see him in a movie that's not like a straight action movie, coming out of the 80s and into the 90s. And
also a very mature role as well.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was perfect for him, because he was at that age. This is a couple years before the Jerry Maguire and stuff like that. And it was just, his performance in it is great, but the performance that really matters in it is Jack Nicholson's. But this is a scene where they just got their asses handed to them in court the day before, and he goes home that night. And while these three lawyers are sitting around, it's Demi Moore, Tom Cruise, they're sitting around and they're coming up with the next day's defense of these two Marines who are charged with second-degree murder of another Marine. He just gets drunk, just blind drunk. He's given up. He's absolutely done. And I love this scene. But I mean,
who hasn't been there?
The best scene is the next day when he does put Colonel Jessup on the stand.
Oh yeah,
I absolutely love that scene. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
I'm gonna rip your goddamn head off and shit down your neck. This movie was fucking brilliant and so well done, so well casted. I mean, everybody just knocked it out of the park. Really, just all around fantastic.
So good on you, Tom. I mean, you keep making your action films these days, and we'll keep remembering the days when you were really acting.
I can't wait until he brings out another good character role.
In the meantime, I'll keep watching him risk life and limb hanging from moving
and
aircrafts.
That's okay too, because he still can do it, right? The guy's a beast.
Jay, we got beers from the Single Cut Brew Smiths, and they come out of Astoria, New York, and Clifton Park, New York. So, Single Cut is a very, very experimental beer company. They are 100% beer smiths. A lot of their beers are not yearly releases. They do not put beers out constantly. They're every month they have something different that's coming out. And I haven't disliked
even if they're mild, mild tweaks here and there. Doesn't really matter. It's something new. It's really an impressive line of beers because you're right. We haven't had too many beers that we actually did not like.
Right.
They're all really good.
And we are now we're on a list of people at our local beer store that when these come out, they have to put them aside because they sell out quickly. People who like craft beer buy the shit out of these. So.
And it's understandable because
it's quality.
It's super quality and it's extremely drinkable. And I have one of my own here that I'm drinking is the 18 watt. It's 5% alcohol by volume, 72 IBUs. It is a unfiltered IPA. I guess you could say it's a session, and it just has an explosion of a great balance of orange zest with a little bit of pine, but the tropical citrus flavors along with it that it is just a goddamn juicy explosion in your mouth that I feel like it's like a morning cup of juice that you just chug down and it's so refreshing. It's right up my alley, Dave. I mean, I'm going to give this, it's on the nose. It's a little mild. I like a little bit more on the nose side, but I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I mean, this is a really, really, really great beer.
Very cool, man. I am drinking the Single Cut Hypnosis IPA. It is 5% alcohol per volume, just like yours, and it's 72 IBUs. And this one is far more juicier than yours. It's very heavily juiced up front. And I do agree with you. Yeah, it's kind of almost like getting a glass of juice in the morning with your hearty breakfast. But it does have a really nice dry hop throughout the middle. It finishes off really, really well. It actually leaves your mouth feeling juicy. Like you start salivating while drinking it. It's pretty amazing. I really enjoy this one. I'm not as keen on it as yours. I've had better single cuts in my mind, and I do like my IPAs to be a little bit hoppier, a little bit more floral, a little bit drier than this. So I'm going to be giving this one a 4.25, Jay.
Okay.
And I love their little motto at the bottom. Single Cut Beersmiths is proud to maintain the American tradition of beer locally made from craft by zealots, lunatics who believe hard work, truth, pride, passion always should come before profit, which is very clearly what they're doing. I mean, they're canning these and they're sending these out, but they're not making them in mass. They are not making a huge profit off of what they're doing. I'm sure they make enough, but
sure,
they could be making more with how much.
If they're coming down here, they're doing okay.
Yeah, but I mean, they could be doing more with how much I see people, at least in our own beer store. These don't usually make it onto the shelf. These are all, they come in and they sit behind the counter because everybody has them pretty much bought up before they're even in the store.
And we got the hookup.
So coming up next, me and Jay are going to be getting into our top 5 for this week. Our top 5 this week is top 5 films that were never made. It's time to get into this week's top 5. Me and Jay haven't done a top 5 since we did our top 5 summer films back at the end of June. So I figured with San Diego Comic-Con and not a whole lot of news or trailers and stuff to discuss, it'd be a nice time for us to fit in another top 5. However, we've done quite a few top 5s, but one thing that I haven't gotten to do is to talk about the top 5 films that had never been made. Now, we have talked about films that never got made before, but I'm not sure if I don't believe we did a top 5 on it. So I wanted to discuss our top 5 films that never get made, especially with Comic-Con having been last week and stuff like that. We get a lot of promises, especially from the DCEU and other companies. There's a lot of promises of this is in the works, that's in the works. Like we know Kevin Smith was making Mallrats. It was going to be a Mallrats sequel. That got canceled. That's not going to happen. There's a lot of films that get announced and then nothing winds up coming of it, and you get really excited for them. The Spawn film that's currently in development, I still feel like that has a chance for not happening. A lot of different things. I mean, a lot of films go into development hell for years. Watchmen in development hell for years.
Right. No, there's a lot of things out there that I just literally blank on, and I literally just went by whatever they put on the web pages. To be honest, I'm just going to throw it out there. So there's going to be a lot of movies where I feel like would not normally be on my top 5.
Well, let's start off with you, Jay.
But,
what's your number 5?
But this is interesting because technically this movie has been made and it will be coming out in a couple years, but it's called Dune by Alejandro Jodorowsky.
Okay. And we have gotten a Dune film before.
Yes. And it just sort of failed.
It did.
In so many
Huge
levels.
Failure.
And it was a big financial disappointment and also critical disappointment.
That was David Lynch who did the first one.
David Lynch. And as much as a fan of the current director of Dune, Denis Villeneuve, of that movie, he's going to have a different kind of take on this movie altogether completely. And I think all of us who have seen his movies, who are fans of his movies, knows where he could take a spin on this movie and where it's going to go. I'm excited for it because that's where a sci-fi movie like this would probably be.
Interestingly enough, about David Lynch's Dune, he turned down directing Revenge of the Jedi, which was the working title for Return of the Jedi, to do Dune, and it wound up being such a big flop. I'm not sure David Lynch would have.
That's crazy.
I'm not sure David Lynch would have done a whole lot different with Revenge of the Jedi because it was a much different. He was pretty much coming in and working for someone. You're coming in, you're working for George Lucas, right? There's not a whole lot of things you can change. Visual style, maybe, but I don't think David Lynch's visual style would have matched up with the visual styles that came before it.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting that it
was a movie that was supposed to be made by another person, and David Lynch, initially had a 3-hour cut, and Universal made him cut it down to 2 hours.
Right.
And it came out in 1984, which was the year I was born.
And Sting,
so old.
Sting was in it. That probably didn't help.
My man. I love Sting.
All right. So my number 5, Jay, is a film by Guillermo del Toro, and it was called At the Mountain of Madness. So this was a film that is based on an H.P. Lovecraft story. And, there's a lot of people who love H.P. Lovecraft. But Del Toro wound up scrapping the project after seeing the 2012 film by Ridley Scott, Prometheus, because he felt In the Mouth of Madness was a little bit too similar to that. So we wound up canceling this film. But this film, In the Mouth of Madness, would have been the first time that the H.P. Lovecraft monster, Cthulhu, would have been in a film, a big thing for Lovecraftians. But unfortunately, it never got off the ground, and it wound up getting scrapped for the fact that Prometheus had come out. Jay, what's your number 4?
Superman Lives, directed by Tim Burton. Now, we have a documentary about this movie.
The Death of Superman Lives.
Yes. By the late John Schnepp, rest in peace. He just died a couple weeks ago, unfortunately. Some kind of crazy illness. He was way too young. Really interesting guy. He was a part of the Collider family, who I adore, on YouTube and the Collider.com network. But it went through development hell. Multiple screenwriting changes, even by Kevin Smith himself, who, his script sounded fucking bonkers as fuck, to be honest. But
that's an evening with Kevin Smith story.
Right.
You should really watch those. Those are
you
fun.
really should. You really should. I love Kevin Smith for that, because he literally is such an interesting
but Jay,
person to conversate with.
Like when you watch The Death of Superman Lives and you look and you see that footage of him in that suit, and you can just Google Nick Cage Superman, and you'll see the plasticness of it.
It's so weird.
So bad looking. It's just so.
I know.
Now, granted, we know, like, even from seeing set photos,
but this is
what
around
a
the time
costume
when,
looks what a costume looks like in lighting and stuff like that looks completely different when it's put on film.
Sure.
So,
but even still, it's Nick Cage, right? And
with the
same time,
90s Superman mullet.
But this is around like when like Mars Attacks with Tim Burton.
Yeah.
So this is when he was kind of like making some like questionable decisions as far as studio movies.
Fuck you! I love Mars Attacks. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
It's just so weird though.
It's
No,
so
I mean
good.
it's
It
kind of
is
cool
weird.
and fun, but like it's so weird.
It's out
And
there.
It's very out there. But they don't want an out there movie with Superman. Come on, Dave.
Jay, I'm actually, after reading like a lot about this movie and then watching that documentary, I was super happy this film never got made.
Well, of course not. But I'm still, to this day, intrigued by Tim Burton making a Superman movie, because I can't believe Tim Burton would even consider making a Superman movie.
Well,
it's
that's
crazy.
You gotta. We talked about this before when we talked about like Batman '89.
And I do have a soft spot for him.
He didn't have a lot under his belt at that point.
No.
Right. Like, I mean, he didn't do Edward Scissorhands until '93, which is after Batman Returns. And he Beetlejuice and Batman '89. Like, he didn't have a whole lot under his plate. So to have a big contract with Warner Brothers,
Pee-wee.
right, and Pee-wee, but like to have a big contract from Warner Brothers to be like, you can make films for the next 10 years for us and make bank. Like, that is very seductive to a young director like Burton was at the time. And I think honestly losing this film has probably made his career. I mean, he's destroying it now, but it made it then. Jay, my number 4. And we've talked about this a lot, because the hot, scotchy, cigar-stained breath of Ridley Scott called up Neil Blomkamp and said, "Oi, Blomkamp cunt, you're not going to make your fucking Alien Awakening movie. I got 6 more Alien movies up in me.
Good
You
call.
get the fuck out of here." So my number 4 is Neil Blomkamp's Alien Awakening. Dude, I love the stuff that I've seen for it. A lot of the pre-production artwork and stuff like that. But they wound up scrapping this for the fact that Ridley Scott was still playing around with the universe, and at some point they do want this universe to make sense to people. They do want it all to make sense. But Blomkamp's Alien would have picked up after Aliens, and would have ignored Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. And it also would have brought back Sigourney Weaver and Michael Biehn in their iconic roles from Aliens. So I was very much looking forward to this, but unfortunately, it looks like it'll never see the light of day, especially now because we know from a couple weeks ago, Neil Blomkamp is going to be doing RoboCop reboot.
I'm on board, man.
Which I'm on board for that because, like I said, it's clear he wanted to play around in this type of universe. So, Jay, what is your number 3?
Gladiator 2. So, in a weird bonkers kind of genius of scripts, I feel like this is really cool because it would be like a little bit, in my mind, this is supposed to be written by Nick Cave.
You fat cunt. I need you to lose some fucking weight. I want to make Gladiator 2.
No, but that's the thing. I think it would be like in a weird, like, indie movie genre, like a spiritual kind of film with like Nick Cave is supposed to be the writer of this movie, who's like a punk guy, like rock star, troubadour kind of guy. And it's going to have like a little bit of like a supernatural card to it.
This was a film that
reincarnation.
It took place in Elysium, right? Like Gladiator is in Elysium now after
in the killing fields and all that stuff. And you know, Scott and Russell were keen to do it, but you know, Warner Brothers obviously, you know, was not. So, you know, it didn't happen. But it's just kind of I feel like it would have been an interesting follow up. And it's like a really low budget movie to make on a follow up of this kind of success.
Do you know what year this would have come out? Roundabouts?
No, I don't.
Gladiator was 2000, so it would have been several years after. But what I'm getting at is, could Russell Crowe have gotten into shape? Could he have? Could he have?
Nah, probably not.
Yeah. You fat cunt. I need you to lose some fucking weight.
As soon as he won an Oscar, that motherfucker turned into booze-aholic. I mean, he just started drinking, man, and he got big.
All right, Jack.
He hasn't been that lean in a long time.
My number 3. George Miller's Justice League, man. We've talked about this a couple of times.
That's my number 2, man.
All right. Well, so George Miller was to make a Justice League film. It had a bunch of stars, including Common as the Green Lantern, Jon Stewart. It had Adam Brody as the Flash, Barry Allen, and it had Armie Hammer as Batman.
Yeah.
And they got pretty far into production on this back in 2007. They were all in Australia. They actually had costumes made and fitted. They were doing production photos and stuff like that. Set the film in a couple weeks. And as everybody knows, the writer's strike of 2007 hit and they wound up canceling production on it and then never picking up. Now, rumor is that was the rumor that the writer's strike,
all in Australia.
Right. That it was the writer's strike.
Cast. It's crazy.
It was that the writer's strike is what did it. But actually, Warner Brothers was actually getting cold feet and had some trepidations about it because looming overhead was the fact that they had just done 2005's Batman Begins, which was a huge success. They wanted to continue playing in the Batman universe with Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan was unhappy that there was going to be another Batman out there, kind of almost tainting his, and he was afraid, and Warner Brothers was afraid, that people were going to be getting Armie Hammer's Batman confused with his, wondering why Christian Bale wasn't in the Justice League movies. Are these connected? Why not? Same questions people are having now about Joaquin Phoenix's Joker alongside of, you know, the Joker that we have in the current universe played by Jared Leto. So, I mean, I get it, but they could have soldiered on because actually when there's an interview with Adam Brody, and I actually believe it's on Kevin Smith's Smodcast podcast that I listened to it. He talked about this film like at great length. He talked about the script. He talked about everything that was going to be in it, and it was actually going to be a Flash central story. You know, he was going to be the one at the end who saves the day and stuff like that. Yeah. And he talked about this beautiful scene, which is the scene that made him really want to do it, when he runs so fast that he goes into flash time, flash speed, everything's moving slow, and he's about to pretty much sacrifice himself. So he runs all the way to Star City or Coast City or whatever the fuck the Flash is from. I can't even remember. And he sees Iris and he gives her a kiss and he tells her that he loves her, and he goes to run away. And as he runs away in slow motion, the tear starts falling from her eyes. And then he runs all the way back to his doom. He runs all the way back to his death. And like he said, like just the way it was written, he could see himself playing the character. He loved the way it looked. And I was really excited for it. And I fucking love George Miller, man, other than, you know, Babe. "Hey, George Miller, cunt! You're not going to get to make that fucking Justice League movie." Ridley Scott just does all the firing for Warner Brothers. He calls them.
I know, seriously.
There's a fucking writer's strike. Shut the fuck up. Go make another Mad Max, you cunt.
But you know what's funny enough, though? My number one also has George Miller involved. Could that be yours as well? Do we have the same first and second place?
I don't believe so.
No.
So, Jay, any thoughts on George Miller's Justice League? I'm
No,
sure not.
I can't. How do I follow up that? No, I agree.
But no, I did really want to see that, though.
Of course. Absolutely. It would be really cool.
And George Miller, I mean, he's getting up there in years, man. He's getting up there in years. So that was my number 3. That was your number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we're back to me. My number 2 is a Steven Spielberg film. It was set to be the sequel and the follow-up to Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it would have been called Steven Spielberg's Night Skies. And it would have been, instead of benevolent aliens that come down like they did in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it would have been far more malevolent, far more in the vein of horror, and it would have followed around a Kentucky farm family that were terrorized by alien invaders. And then what wound up happening was right around the same time Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, and he kind of felt like his was a little bit too similar to that, and I don't see how a family of crazy psychopaths killing teenagers and being somewhat cannibals and wearing skins would have related to his Night Skies. There's not a whole lot known about the Night Skies, but anything that Spielberg would have made in this era, I would have been down for, because that was like Spielberg's heyday, man. And I would have loved to have seen another film from him back in the day. But it wound up getting stalled, and there wound up being script problems. Spielberg didn't like the scripts that were coming back, so he wound up taking the elements of this, Jay, and working them into one film that he directed, E.T., and another film that he ghost directed later on, Poltergeist.
That's right.
So
not many people remember that.
Yeah. So, all right, Jay, before we get into your number 1, do you have any honorable mentions?
I do not.
So I have 2.
Okay.
My first one is James Cameron's Spider-Man, which was supposed to come out in the mid-90s.
Yeah, that was one I thought about that was kind of intriguing. I just... it would probably be coming out right now this year. The way he makes movies.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But that's actually something like his vision, like coming off of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Like I would have loved to have seen James Cameron's version of the Wall Crawler, man.
Sure.
Yeah, and he was apparently, paid $3 million for a 47-page treatment of the script. But here's what's weird. Arnold Schwarzenegger would have been cast as the bad guy, and he would have played Dr. Octopus. And Spider-Man, Jay, would have been played by Leonardo DiCaprio, a very young Leonardo DiCaprio, which he wound up using again to make Titanic.
Right. I can see it, but I don't want to see it.
I would have loved to have seen it. It's just one of those things where it's like, I would love to see that. But
at the time, how can you pass that up? Those 3 names attached to Spider-Man? Come on. You can't say no to that.
My other honorable mention is a film that in Philadelphia was huge news. We were all very excited for it. Is Rob Zombie's Broad Street Bullies film, which was a film that would have been about the Philadelphia Flyers from 1974 to 1978 in their heyday when they were known as the Broad Street Bullies. They were the most maligned, most hated hockey team,
the best team in hockey
planet.
ever. Yeah.
But everyone hated us. Like they hated the Flyers.
I love that.
And Rob Zombie was attracted to the violence, to the blood and everything. And he's not even a hockey fan. And then what wound up happening was he had been working so hard on that film for 2 years straight. He was doing research, and he wound up sitting there with his co-writer and saying this is pretty much saying this is really hard. And he's like, I got other ideas and stuff like that. And his co-writer went, well, what are your other ideas? And he said, well, I got an idea about this. I got an idea about that. And he goes, that, call someone up. Tell them about that idea. So he wrote a pitch. He called them up, and he doesn't specifically name the film, but I believe the film was 31. And he just wound up, going out there and saying I have this film in mind. I want to make this. And there wound up being a bidding war over that script. And he put Broad Street Bullies aside and said I'm probably never going to pick that up. That's probably never going to be made. Just like Kevin Smith's hockey film Hit Somebody. It's written, it's there, but he's just like, it's just probably never
Dune
going to
already
get made.
came out.
Yeah, exactly. And he wanted Sean William Scott to play the lead role in his film too. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is funny. So, but yeah, so those are my 2 honorable mentions, Jay. So let's get into your number 1.
Well, this was a time around 2000 after a Tim Burton film, a shitty Joel Schumacher film, and they were looking, Warner Brothers Batman was trying to have a reboot, and they hired Darren Aronofsky to direct a feature called Batman Year One.
That is 100%.
That would
Jay.
be written by Frank Miller and would be starring, as we now know, Joaquin Phoenix.
Jay,
apparently,
this is my number 1 as well.
How can this not be anybody's 101? This is like, oh my god, oozing amazingness. I mean, this is so cool. This is like in the vein of like Joaquin playing the Joker right now for Todd Phillips.
At the same time that Warner Brothers was looking for Darren Aronofsky to direct a Batman Year One film, he was also connected to a RoboCop reboot, a Watchmen adaptation, and a Wolverine film, all at the same time. So there was a lot of shit going on for Darren Aronofsky at this time. But I think the vision that he would have brought to Batman Year One, which is literally, I mean, the title gives it all away. It is the first year of Batman's life. And a lot of the elements of this made it into Batman Begins, but they wound up not going with it because a lot of Aronofsky's vision was counterintuitive to the way Warner Brothers wanted the character to be portrayed. And he really was pushing for an R-rated Batman film, which Frank Miller was known for basically writing R-rated Batman comics, and Year One, to an extent, is an R-rated Batman comic.
Which fits the property, and it is technically a change for what they were doing at the time, and it could have been obviously it's a gamble. I mean, they haven't done a R-rated superhero movie until Deadpool, but they could have been the first of the kind.
And he actually worked with Frank Miller prior to this. Him and Frank Miller, Darren Aronofsky and Frank Miller, were trying to get Frank Miller's other book, Ronin, off the ground as well, which neither of these wound up happening. But, you know, I definitely would have loved to have seen that vision, because think of Christopher Nolan's Batman and then just go, we'll just go a couple shades darker.
Right.
And it's not a bad thing. And that's one of the things, like, I wish studios would realize we can do. And they kind of are getting there, especially with like 2 Joker films coming out, is that just like in comic books, you can have multiple facets of the character. You can have Batman and Detective Comics being all dark as shit, being investigative as hell, and being like a really down and dark personal story.
Sure.
And then you can have the Batman main book having, you know, more of a superhero-ish adventure, or vice versa, flip-flop them. And it's one of those things where you can have the character portrayed in multiple ways, but they're all still part of that character. And I feel like films, if they did that, you could really get into some really interesting one-off films about characters that wind up being just as interesting as the big blockbusters that appeal to everybody.
And not only that, if you make something of quality and you develop more things that well round the characters themselves, you're going to get these consumers like us be more enthralled in that world and with those kind of characters, and want to consume as much content as we can, whether it be TV, whether it be different versions of movies. It doesn't matter. If you're making something different and something that's authentic, we're going to eat it up.
Jay, once the whole world goes to streaming services, this is exactly the type of world we will live in. It'll be
in that way. I am excited. Right,
there will be something for everybody.
Sure.
So that's going to do it for us with Super Movie Brothers tonight. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If there's any films that have never been made that you would like to reach out to us about, or you have any opinions on any of the news stories we talked about, reach out to us on Twitter at Super Movie Pod, or reach out to us on Facebook, Super Movie Bros Podcast on there. Jay runs the Instagram, which is now hosting all of our beer reviews on it.
Super Movie Bros Beer
on Instagram. And then you can also check out all of our movie cocktails and the rest of the Podfix Network, all of our great friends over at www.podfixnetwork.com. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Blowfish. That is www.forhangovers.com, forhangovers.com, and use the promo code SMBFish at checkout for your 15% off. We also have a Patreon. Our first Patreon episode is up now, so make sure you head over to www.patreon.com/supermoviebrospodcast and check out all the goodies we got over there on Patreon, including our loot chest, which you can be a part of, where you can get a gift just for joining the Patreon, and then you can also check out our additional content. Or if you're willing to pay a little bit more, you can control the show. You can tell us what to do for some movie homeworks. And in fact, because it is movie homework, because we're talking about movie homework, Jay, I think next week we're going to be getting into some movie homework. So I'm going to have to assign you something. You're going to have to assign me something. And what great fun we're going to have yelling at each other.
Oh, boy.
So I want to thank everybody for listening. Have a great night, and cheers.
Cheers.